The 100 Days Offensive was the final period of the First World War, during which the Allies launched a series of offensives against the Central Powers on the Western Front from the 8th of August to the 11th of November 1918. Beginning with the Battle of Amiens, the offensive essentially pushed the Germans out of France, forcing them to retreat beyond the Hindenburg Line, and was followed by an armistice. The term 100 Days Offensive does not refer to a specific battle or unified strategy, but rather the rapid series of Allied victories starting with the Battle of Amiens. Background: the spring offensive of the German army on the Western Front had begun on the 21st of March 1918 with Operation Michael and had petered out by July. The Germans had advanced to the river Marne but failed to achieve a decisive breakthrough. When Operation Marne ended in July, the Allied Supreme Commander Ferdinand Foch ordered a counter-offensive which became known as the Second Battle of the Marne. The Germans, recognizing their untenable position, withdrew from the Marne towards the north. For this victory, Foch was granted the title Marshal of France. Foch considered the time had arrived for the Allies to return to the offensive. The American Expeditionary Force was present in France in large numbers and invigorated the Allied armies. Pershing was keen to use his army in an independent role. The British Expeditionary Force had also been reinforced by large numbers of troops returned from the Sinai and Palestine campaign and the Italian front, and replacements held back in Britain by the Prime Minister, David Lloyd George. A number of proposals were considered and, finally, Foch agreed on a proposal by Field Marshal Sir Douglas Haig, Commander-in-Chief of the BEF, to strike on the River Somme, east of Amiens and southwest of the site of the 1916 Battle of the Somme, with the intention of forcing the Germans away from the vital Amiens-Paris railway. The Somme was chosen as a suitable site for the offensive for several reasons. As in 1916, it marked the boundary between the BEF and the French armies, in this case defined by the Amiens-Roye Road, allowing the two armies to cooperate. Also, the Picardy countryside provided a good surface for tanks, which was not the case in Flanders. Finally, the German defences, manned by the German Second Army, were relatively weak, having been subjected to continual raiding by the Australians in a process termed peaceful penetration battles. The advance in Picardy. The Battle of Amiens. The Battle of Amiens opened on the 8th of August 1918 with an attack by more than 10 Allied divisions, Australian, Canadian, British and French forces, with more than 500 tanks. Through careful preparation, the Allies achieved surprise. The attack, led by the British Fourth Army, broke through the German lines and tanks attacked German rear positions, sowing panic and confusion. By the end of the day, a gap 15 miles wide had been created in the German line south of the Somme. The Allies had taken 17,000 prisoners and captured 330 guns. Total German losses were estimated to be 30,000 men, while the Allies had suffered about 6,500 killed, wounded and missing. The collapse in German morale led Erich Ludendorff to dub it the Black Day of the German army. The advance continued for 3 more days but without the spectacular results of the 8th of August, since the rapid advance outran the supporting artillery and ran short of supplies. During those 3 days, the Allies had managed to gain 12 miles, but most of that had occurred on the first day, as a result of the Germans adding reinforcements. On the 10th of August, the Germans began to pull out of the salient that they had managed to occupy during Operation Michael in March, back towards the Hindenburg Line. Somme. On 15 August 1918, Foch demanded that Haig continue the Amiens offensive, even though the attack was faltering as the troops outran supplies and artillery and German reserves were being moved to the sector. Haig refused and prepared to launch a fresh offensive by the Third Army at Albert, which opened on 21 August. The offensive was a success, pushing the German Second Army back over a 34-mile front. Albert was captured on the 22nd of August. The attack was widened on the south by the French 10th Army, starting the Second Battle of Noyon on the 17th of August, capturing the town of Noyon on the 29th of August. On the 26th of August, to the north of the initial attack, the First Army widened the attack by another 7 miles with the Second Battle of Arras of 1918. Bapaume fell on the 29th of August, advanced to the Hindenburg Line. With the front line broken, a number of battles took place as the Allies forced the Germans back to the Hindenburg Line, east of Amiens, with artillery brought forward and munitions replenished. The Fourth Army also resumed its advance, with the Australian Corps crossing the Somme River on the night of the 31st of August, breaking the German lines during the Battle of Mont-Saint-Quentin. On the 26th of August, to the north of the Somme, the First Army widened the attack by another 7 miles with the Second Battle of Arras of 1918, which includes the Battle of the Scarpa and the Battle of Drocourt-Queant. South of the BEF, the French First Army approached the Hindenburg Line on the outskirts of Saint-Quentin during the Battle of Savy-Darlan, and the French 10th Army approached the Hindenburg Line near Laon during the Battle of Varxillon. The British Fourth Army approached the Hindenburg Line along the Saint-Quentin Canal during the Battle of Amiens. By the 2nd of September, the Germans had been forced back close to the Hindenburg Line, from which they had launched their offensive in the spring. Battles of the Hindenburg Line. Foch planned a series of concentric attacks on the German lines in France, with the various axes of advance, designed to cut German lateral communications, intending that the success of an attack would enable the entire front line to be advanced. The main German defenses were anchored on the Hindenburg Line, a series of defensive fortifications stretching from Cernay on the Aisne River to Arras. Before Foch's main offensive was launched, the remaining German salients west and east of the line were crushed at Havrincourt and Saint-Mihiel on the 12th of September and at the Battle of Amiens and the Battle of the Canal du Nord on the 27th of September. The first attack of the Grand Offensive was launched on the 26th of September by the French and the AF in the Meuse-Argonne offensive. The Battle of Saint-Thierry, the Battle of Montfaucon and the Battle of Chêne on the 1st of November. The offensive involved attacking over difficult terrain, resulting in the Hindenburg Line not being broken until the 17th of October. 2 days later, the army group under Albert I of Belgium and the French Sixth Army attacked near Ypres in Flanders. Both attacks made good progress initially but were then slowed by supply difficulties. On the 29th of September, the central attack on the Hindenburg Line commenced, with the British Fourth Army led by the Australian Corps attacking in the Battle of Saint-Quentin Canal and the French First Army attacking fortifications outside Saint-Quentin. By the 5th of October, the Allies had broken through the entire depth of the Hindenburg defences over a 19 miles front. Rawlinson wrote, "Had the Boche not shown marked signs of deterioration during the past month, I should never have contemplated attacking the Hindenburg Line. Had it been defended by the Germans of 2 years ago, it would certainly have been impregnable." On the 8th of October, the 1st and 3rd British armies broke through the Hindenburg Line at the Second Battle of Cambrai. This collapse forced the German High Command to accept that the war had to be ended. The evidence of failing German morale also convinced many Allied commanders and political leaders that the war could be ended in 1918. Previously, all efforts had been concentrated on building up forces to mount a decisive attack in 1919. Beyond the Hindenburg Line. Through October, the German armies retreated through the territory gained in 1914. The Allies pressed the Germans back toward the lateral railway line from Metz to Bruges, which had supplied the front in northern France and Belgium for much of the war. As the Allied armies reached this line, the Germans were forced to abandon increasingly larger amounts of heavy equipment and supplies, further reducing the morale and capacity to resist. There were many casualties in the Allied and German armies. Rearguard actions were fought during the pursuit to the Selle, Battle of Courtrai, Battle of Montauban, Battle of the Selle, Battle of Lisnesco, Battle of the Se, Battle of Valenciennes, and the Battle of the Sambre and the Battle of Thieric, with fighting continuing until the last minutes before the armistice took effect at 11 o'clock on the 11th of November 1918. One of the last soldiers to die was Canadian Private George Lawrence Price, 2 minutes before the armistice took effect. Bibliography. Bond, Brian. The Unquiet Western Front, Britain's Role in Literature and History. London, Cambridge University Press. ISBN 978-0-521-03641-2. Charles Edwin Woodrow. The Australian Imperial Force in France during the Allied Offensive. Official History of Australia in the War of 1914 to 1918. Vi. Angus and Robertson, OCLC 41,008,291. Retrieved 29 July 2015. Christie, Norm M. For King and Empire, The Canadians at Amiens, August 1918. CEF Books. ISBN 1896979203. Christie, Norm M. The Canadians at Arras and the Drocourt-Queant Line, August-September 1918. CEF Books. ISBN 1896979432. OCLC 60,369,666. Christie, Norm M. The Canadians at Cambrai and the Canal du Nord, August-September 1918. CEF Books. ISBN 1896979181. Dan Cox, Daniel George. Spearhead to Victory, Canada and the Great War. Hertig. ISBN 0888303106. OCLC 16,354,705. Hanato, Gabriel. Histoire illustrée de la guerre de 1914, 17. Paris. Gauner-Ilou. OCLC 175,115,527. Livesey, John Frederick Bly. Canada's 100 Days. Thomas Allen. OCLC 471,474,361. Lloyd, Nick. 100 Days. The End of the Great War. Viking. ISBN 978-0-670-92006-8. Montgomery, Sir A. The Story of Fourth Army in the Battles of the 100 Days, August 8 to November 11, 1918. London, Hodder and Amp, Stoughton. OCLC 682,022,494. Retrieved 29 July 2015. Orgill, Douglas. Armored Onslaught, 8 August 1918. New York, Ballantine Books. ISBN 0-345-02608-X. Priestley, I.E. Breaking the Hindenburg Line, the story of the 46th Division. London, Unwin, OCLC 671,679,006. Retrieved 29 July 2015. Schreiber, Shane B. Shock Army of the British Empire, the Canadian Corps in the last 100 days of the Great War. St. Catharines, Ontario, Vanwell, ISBN 1-55125-0969. OCLC 57,063,659.